With Belal Muhammad now sidelined from UFC 310, top contenders are lining up for a shot at the undefeated Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's ready to take on all challengers. Ian Machado Gary and Joaquin Buckley were among the first to step up, hoping for the shot, only for the promotion to pit them against each other at UFC Tampa on December 14th instead. Next came former UFC welterweight champ and number 2 contender Kamaru Usman, who had recently told Buckley to take a number and get in line after his title call-out. But only a week after saying he'd be ready to step in against Rakhmonov, the Nigerian Nightmare is now backtracking on his availability. Quote, "You see where I'm at? I'm getting some work in. I'm getting ready if I get that call from the UFC. But to be honest, it's a fight that I've looked at, and I know it's definitely a very winnable fight. I know that I can, of all people, go out there and expose what hasn't been exposed in a young, hot, streaky guy in Shavkat Rakhmonov. He's very talented, he's very good, but I do see the holes, and I think that I can exploit that when that time is right. But December 7th might be a little too early for that time." Those comments haven't sat well with UFC fans, especially since they come only a week after Usman declared he doesn't shy away from any of that. What do you think about this situation? Who should face the undefeated Kazakh in Rakhmonov for the interim belt? Leave your comments below. UFC CEO Dana White rejected Jon Jones' proposed legacy fight idea against Alex Pereira. If Jones beats Stipe and chooses not to retire after UFC 309, Dana White said that the only fight that makes sense is against Tom Aspinall. Despite Jones' interest in a potential super fight with Alex Pereira, Dana doesn't believe the UFC light heavyweight champion has the right qualities to make that matchup happen. "Jon will do what he does on Saturday," Dana said on the Jim Rome show. "If he wins, he'll disappear for a while and the competitive spirit will start bubbling up again, and then money will talk. If he doesn't decide to retire, he absolutely, positively fights Aspinall. He's not fighting Pereira. Pereira was a middleweight who moved up to light heavyweight. He's also a kickboxer who has done very well in MMA. His wrestling isn't even near the level of Jones, and Jones is way bigger than him. If Jon Jones wants to fight again after Saturday night, he will fight Tom Aspinall." Dana has consistently stated his belief that Jones will continue fighting beyond UFC 309. Widely regarded as the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, Jones doesn't want to risk it all against the talented up-and-comer Tom Aspinall. Just days before the UFC heavyweight champion Jon Jones takes on another legend Stipe at UFC 309, UFC middleweight star Khamzat Chimaev boldly challenged Jones for a fight. Earlier this week, Khamzat held an interview with Russian reporter Usha Taika, where he surprisingly called out Jones for a fight. Khamzat, who is a middleweight, has some serious and respectable wins over high-level opponents, like Kamaru Usman and Robert Whittaker. However, the MMA community was shocked when the undefeated Chechen called out Jones, who is 2 divisions above Khamzat, and he is not just some heavyweight, he is heavily regarded as the greatest fighter ever. Quote, "Jon Jones, right now, he's the best fighter in the world. He's got the most title defenses, he's a champion in 2 weight classes, and he's never lost a fight. He was the youngest UFC champion ever." If we're talking MMA, everyone knows Jon Jones, so yeah, he's the greatest of all time. There's no one like him. Of course, he's the perfect opponent for anyone trying to make history. I'm younger than him, so I hope he's not planning to retire anytime soon. He is fighting another legend now. Maybe we'll train together one day. He's a good dude, always cracking jokes. But let's be real, I'm confident I can win. It's a tough fight for anyone, and yeah, of course I want to fight this guy. If we step into the cage, it's gonna be one for the history books. This isn't the first time Khamzat showed interest in fighting Jones. Every time the Chechen is asked about Jones, he doubles down and says he'd love to face him in the octagon. Jones responded on Twitter saying, "Khamzat, be careful and don't let them ask you such questions." Jones advised Khamzat to think more before answering questions, and to know which reporters are worth giving an interview to. Charles Oliveira breaks down his upcoming fight with Michael Chandler. In a recent interview with ESPN, Oliveira responded to Chandler's claims about the improvements he's made as a competitor since their first fight 3.5 years ago. Dude Bronx was adamant that Chandler won't be able to alter his aggressive forward-pressing style. With that in mind, Oliveira is expecting a familiar, explosive start from the 38-year-old. quote, "All you have to do is watch his fights. That's who he is. He's always aggressive. He's always going to go forward. He can't help but be himself." Oliveira said, "It's like saying Charles is going to back down or walk backwards. I am going to always push forward. That's who Chandler is always going to be. Always very explosive, always very aggressive. A guy who's got a very strong first round." At UFC 262, Chandler's quick start nearly earned him the win. He had Oliveira hurt badly and seemed moments away from finishing him several times. But after surviving to the first round, Oliveira landed a perfectly timed left hook early in the second, catching Chandler and setting up a stunning finish. Now, the former champion will be hoping to turn the tables and repeat that success this Saturday night in New York City. Oliveira is preparing for his second fight of the year, looking to bounce back from his narrow split decision loss to Arman Tsarukyan at UFC 300 this past April. Meanwhile, Chandler has been out of action for 2 years following his defeat to Dustin Poirier at Madison Square Garden. After a failed wait to face Conor McGregor, Iron now gets his shot at redemption against Oliveira, once again at MSG. Who do you think wins in this rematch? Leave your comments below. Conor McGregor's highly anticipated comeback may be delayed longer than expected. The Irish superstar, who hasn't fought since 2021, has been teasing his return for months, aiming to compete sometime in 2025. While that's still the target, Dana White recently stated that McGregor's return is likely further off than originally thought. White shared the latest on McGregor during an appearance on the Jim Rome Show, where he was asked about possibly rebooking the fight with Michael Chandler after Chandler faces Charles Oliveira at UFC 309 on Saturday. "That's a fun fight," Dana said. "I think Conor and Chandler both like that fight. When Conor comes back, which I see being sometime the later part of next year, we'll see where everybody's at and what's going on, and we'll figure out who faces Conor." That's why everybody was so excited about it. Chandler and Conor McGregor is a fun fight. Hearing that McGregor's return is likely pushed back until late 2025 is probably not the news anyone was hoping for, especially after a broken toe already delayed his planned fight against Chandler in June. McGregor had expressed his frustration, saying he was preparing to fight, but once it became clear he wouldn't be back in 2024, Chandler moved on. He now faces Oliveira in a 5-round co-main event on Saturday's card at Madison Square Garden in New York. While Chandler has said he's still interested in facing McGregor after waiting nearly 2 years for that matchup, it seems he may need to adjust his expectations about when that fight will happen. Despite the ongoing delays, White remains confident McGregor will eventually return to the UFC, but he also stands by his belief that nothing is certain given the vast fortune McGregor has made throughout his career. It's a fact that he does want to come back next year. Dana said, "He and I probably talk 4 or 5 times a month. He definitely wants to come back. We'll just see. Every time I'm on here, I tell you money messes everything up, so we'll see." Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for daily MMA news.